doing this part in a horror film?
Well, I love scary movies, and we haven't had a good scary movie in a really long time. Like, we've moved into the thriller genre really well, and I've always had them, but a good scary movie, we haven't had in a long time, and I think, you know, because they're timeless, what a better time.
You're right, Mr. Falls. People really should learn to keep their hands to themselves. Here's yours.
As any horror fan will tell you, the 90s wasn't exactly the best time to be a horror fan. The most iconic franchises of the time fizzled out. The great filmmakers of the past 2 decades all seemed to hit dry spells. It was as if the genre itself suffered an identity crisis. Movies which try to preserve the spirit of years gone by frequently failed. Those which try to do something new typically came up wanting. At a certain point, a fresh, smart perspective was sorely needed. Enter Wes Craven, who, following his successful Nightmare on Elm Street meta-fantasy, New Nightmare, created a new horror franchise, alongside screenwriter Kevin Williamson, that took to task the tired genre tropes that everyone was thoroughly tired of watching. The opening scene of Scream, which lasts an unlucky 13 minutes exactly, can comfortably exist as its own brutal short film. It has more tension and character development than just about anything produced in recent memory, but as a prelude to the rest of the film, an introductory lesson that sets precedents and offers clues, it remains one of the best scenes of American horror.
Hello?
I'm sorry, I guess I dialed the wrong number.
So why'd you dial it again?
To apologize.
You're forgiven. Bye now.
Wait, don't hang up.
What?
I want to talk to you for a second.
They've got 900 numbers for that. See ya.
The scene also include all the ingredients that would make the movie a classic. Macabre humor, self-aware references to other horror films.
Is that the one where the guy had knives for fingers?
Yeah, Freddy Krueger.
Freddy, that's right. I like that movie. It was scary.
Wow, well, the first one was, but the rest sucked.
Over-the-top violence, and most importantly, the element of surprise. It all begins with a little call made to Bob rockin' Casey Becker, played by Drew Barrymore, who is at the advent of her career comeback after her post-ET difficulties, who's told by a gravelly-voiced stranger that some very unpleasant things are about to happen to her. What makes the scene so brilliant is that it transitions well between parody and sincerity. At first, our caller claims to have miscalled our victim. He then shifts into having a conversation with her that includes flirting and discussion of horror films. Rather than, hanging up on the guy, she coyly continues with the conversation as any dumb horror movie teen would do. When she realizes the threat of the caller, she hurries off the phone only to be called back again. When she threatens to sick her boyfriend on him, his corpse is magically displayed within a view of a window. When he eventually gets the jump on her, she runs from the house and sees her parents approaching, giving her and the audience a twinge of hope. But alas, he catches her and stabs her repeatedly. Her parents soon discover her lifeless body hanging from a front yard tree. Sheesh. By the time Wes Craven came on board to direct this future classic, the movie already had its lead actress, or so Craven thought. Drew Barrymore had originally signed on to play Sidney Prescott, the resilient final girl ultimately portrayed by Neve Campbell. Barrymore's participation led directly to Scream getting the green light from Miramax, but after Craven signed on, she called the producers to request a change.
When Bob came to me, Drew was attached to star. She was to be Sidney Prescott. Bob called back and said, Drew has made a slight change. She doesn't want to star in the film anymore. I said,
Drew called and was like, I don't want to be Sidney, I have this great idea, I want to be Casey.
she's going to be the opening girl. And that's how it was known, just the opening girl.
The whole poster had Drew's face on it. So you're like, oh, it's a Drew Barrymore movie.
The fact that we killed America's sweetheart at the end of 15 minutes, it was like a body punch to the audience.
It made sense. Having a big-name actress would for sure add shock value to the opening. As we know, Alfred Hitchcock had used the same trick to a famous effect in 1960's Psycho, stunning audiences when lead actress Janet Leigh's character was murdered halfway through the film.
Casey's demeanor was, sort of very relaxed. She's barefoot. you know, and I remember that day I came up with that. You know, Wes and I would have dinner every week, and, you know, for 4 months, and we really got to know each other because it was really important for me to have a strong relationship with him and to have that trust so that I could look him in the eye and, you know, tell him my secrets of how to get me to that emotional level and just rely on him, because I really needed him for this kind of a performance that you have to do, because this is real acting, you know, to act sheer terror, crying your eyes out, hyperventilating, the whole 9 yards. I mean, this is, you know, it's a hard job.
Horror has long taken perverse glee in using the seemingly innocuous act of receiving a phone call in wicked ways. Seriously, what is it with phone calls in horror films? Well, for one, our fear is amplified 1,000 times because our menacing antagonist is totally anonymous. You never know what you'll find on the other end of the line. A bill collector, your most hated ex, or a voice from beyond the grave. Horror movies have capitalized on and helped to create our fear of communication devices for decades, but Scream did it best. As the stranger inundates Casey with inquiries, Craven follows her around the house with a Steadicam, establishing the layout, the geography. The big, empty house is rife with places where someone could kill you. Once the stranger sheds his niceties and things take a dark turn, Craven comes in for closer, tighter shots, framing Casey with windows and walls. The tinfoil pocket full of popcorn swells as tensions rises. Suspense builds. When our stranger says, "I want to know who I'm looking at," you can hear a dog barking in the distance, letting you know that the killer is already closer than before. When the stranger reveals that her boyfriend, decked out in a stereotypical Jack Letterman jacket, is being held hostage, he demands that she answers some horror-related trivia questions to save his life. She wrongly answers that Jason was the killer in Friday the 13th, when it was actually Jason's mother, Pamela. This results in the killer gutting the young fellow. Things only get worse from there. Once the chasing and fleeing starts, the horror becomes more conventional, but the build-up and self-knowing menace has left us shaken. Craven and Williamson played mind games on us. This 13-minute scene is essentially a metaphor for the entire film, the entire series. Scream caused a schism in the horror genre, its legacy being the creation of a distinct period of post-Scream horror movies. Unlike most smash hits, however, Scream didn't just inspire a fleeting rash of imitations, it created a ripple effect in both filmmakers and the film industry as a whole. The method was simple. Have your characters expressly lay out the horror movie commandments, have them break said commandments, and then punish them for doing so. This pattern follows the franchise all the way throughout, but the original will always be the most potent, as well as the most fun. With Scream, Wes Craven dragged horror kicking and screeching into a new age, dragging his cold body through the damp grass. He strung it up and cut it open and let us see what its insides look like, and we're forever grateful.
You know, I read the opening of Scream and it was just brutal, and I can't kill another poor girl, you know, geez. You know, you do have to go into a dark place in your mind when you do these films. And it always seems like it's going to be a lot worse than it is, because actually when you do it, it's this, as I was saying earlier, it's a strange experience of quite often it being fun. Not that you're killing people, but you're dealing with these horrible things in a way that you're in control, and everybody gets very close on a horror set for some reason. So, you know, I thought it was, maybe I shouldn't go back there, and then at a certain point, I think there was a little kid at a convention, an appearance I made, and he says, you know, I swear he was like 14 years old, I've seen all your films, but Last House, you really kicked ass. You should kick ass again. He walked off. And I thought of that kid, I thought, well, damn, you know, okay, I'll kick ass one more time. And that's literally how I decided to do it, thank God.